Let's paint this cute St. Patrick's Day clover in a mason jar. I'm going to use a medium brush, maybe a small brush. I always have my flat brush just in case I need it, and maybe a bigger one to do some shadowing. I use tube paint that I place in my paint palette, and there's different greens that you can use. I'm going to go for the more brighter green, like the more like grass green, just to fit the theme. So I'm going to switch to my brush that is kind of, I like to measure half my pinky nail. And I'm going to start by painting the jar so it can dry. For this one, I'm going to use, a black, and I'm going to mix a bit of a blue to get like a color kind of like this. So not just black, but like a blackish blue. I'm going to mix a nice color, and I'm going to follow the curve, and I'm going to do a few little swishes like this. I'm going to follow the top of that line. I do here, I go a little down. I clean my brush. I'm going to suck it up, and I'm going to smooch it out. I'm going to do a few swishes just in there. Clean my brush. I always want to make sure when I come back and mess it up a little bit that I have sucked up the big drop over here so it doesn't just drop on my paper. I'm going to follow the curve here at the bottom. Oops, I just changed my shape a little bit. And then I'm just going to do a few lines here and there. Make a line straight across and divide it. Clean your brush, suck it up, blend it a little bit here. And I'm going to just give, while it's a little bit still wet, a few little lines in my bowl. I'm also, in my jar, I'm also going to do the line over here that shows kind of the watermark and like the water level. And you want to make sure you go all the way touching the edge. In your brush, and you can kind of smoosh a little bit, especially if you think it was a little too dark. I'm going to switch to my small brush. You can also use a pen for this step if you feel hand is not steady enough. I'm still using my black dark blue mixture, but because the brush is smaller, it's going to be darker just because less water on this, right? So not too much. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the pencil lines that I draw for my bowl jar, and I'm just going to outline it. Since the space is so small, we cannot really do the complete 3D effect, but you'll get the idea. It says, oh. What I do also with my hand is I want to make sure that I don't press down too hard. So I make sure I rest on the table, and then I just use the little tip to get skinny, skinny little line. You can also use this small brush to just kind of give a few tiny dark lines to just help your glass look a little bit more um, like reflections. I'm just here and there adding a few hard dark lines. And you don't have to do it everywhere, right? So just here and there. That looks so cute. Okay. I just looked up on the screen to see if it's very blurry or not. And I just realized that the bee is maybe a little disappearing. Let me see. Oh yeah, that looks better. Okay, so I'm going to leave it like this. I'm going to let it dry. So the reason we did that first is so that we can then do the stems. You can also do it the other way around, but if you swish a lot inside, then you may just blur a lot of your stems. Switching back to my medium brush, now we're going to play around with the greens. So I definitely like the happy grassy green. I would do grass kind of green and then the Viridian. And I'm going to play between those two. And maybe I may even add some Prussian blue. So first of all, you're going to paint them all separate. So I'm just going to start here to show you what I mean. I will make a little triangle, clean your brush, suck it up, blend it out. And then dark in the middle, light towards the end. But what you can also do is you can mix the Viridian blue, a green, with some blue and some of this bright green, and then drop it in so it can kind of flow. So I quickly did that, but let me show you what colors I was talking about. I start with the bright green as my base, like this. And I'm adding some of the Viridian blue and the green and the blue. Oh my gosh. The Viridian green and the dark Prussian blue. And I make a mixture that kind of looks like this to drop in. You can do more than one. So for example, now I don't want anything to touch it. So I'm going to make a little puddle here. I'm going to make a little puddle here. I'm going to make one here. I would do maybe 3 or 4. Clean your brush, suck it up, blend it out. Clean your brush, suck it up, blend it out. So you don't want to pull it out too much. Do it with all of them. And you can pull out uneven, right? So it doesn't have to be like perfect. It's like different oh, I just touched the wrong green. Different types of greens. This one got a little dry. So depending on how much, is your AC on, is your heat on, depending on whatever is happening, you may only be able to do 2 or 3. Drop in the dark color right here and let the water do the work for you. So what I mean is it's going to dry differently or faster or depending on where you are. So you will find out quickly if it was too wet or too dark not dark, too wet. I'm looking at this dark and I'm thinking, you can also add a little bit of a brown at the backs for different shade, or just keep it green. Okay, so I'm going to start again with my lighter green. Do a little triangle. Do a little here. And you have to jump around a lot, right? So I'm going to go here, maybe here. Clean your brush, suck it up, and then pull it out. Pull it out. Pull it out. You want to make sure dark stays in the middle, light towards the edges. Use the darker green that you already mixed and drop it in. Oh, I forgot about that one. Drop it in. Blend it out. If it's not moving, add a little bit of water right there and play around with different shades. I kind of like the way it dries, so I don't want to mess it up too much. I do, if the contrast is too much, I can definitely come back with my original green and just kind of blend it in a little bit again. But sometimes you first need to let it dry to see how it dries, and then you can kind of play around. So do more. Gonna do this one now. Make sure you paint pencil line to pencil line. So you don't want to have open spaces. They are touching each other. And this one. And I just touched the wrong one again, but it's okay. And this one. So you cannot see every single clover perfectly. So some of them are a little bit, behind other leaves. And pull this one out. Make your green mixture again in case you're out of it. And then drop it in. And then don't forget where you painted. Oh, I need to finish those. Little circles will just help it kind of pull out nice and smooth. And then drop in while it's still wet. So it will flow. And if it's not flowing, make it a little wet. Just use your brush and smooch it over. And add more. Pour all of them in. Do a little bit at a time. And then blend them out. So you can do this 1, 1, 1. This way is just a tiny bit faster. And then drop in. Touch it so it flows. So I'm just going to finish all of them this way. Oh, that was a little maybe too much. Luckily, it always dries a little lighter than you think. So that's pretty helpful. I didn't pull this one out yet. Wait. Pull it out. Not sure if that one was one. Well, I just sketched it very fast. And then as soon as all of them have color on it, it's a little, oops, there was nothing in that one. It's a little bit faster to then come back and add few shadows here and there. I can see that this one dried with a very hard line. So all I can do is I can just use little circles with a damp brush and kind of blend it out like. So you can always come back and add more, but let's do all of them. Make sure you paint where they are not touching each other. And even if you try to paint the ones next to each other, just be mindful that they can flow into each other. It's definitely not the end of the world, but sometimes not ideal. And if you feel you pull out with water and you just lose color, use a little bit of green to pull it out. You know, if you go back, so, and you take too much of the color off, like here, I can just come back with some green and add back. And because this one is behind, everywhere it's touching petals, you kind of want to make that dark. So it's touching, it's touching, it's touching. And then you can kind of just tap, 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 tap. To get it softer. So the petals on, or the leaves on the top will make a shadow of this bottom one. I thought I missed one. No? Yeah, let's go back into our grassy green. I'm gonna do this one. And if the space is so small, like this one is kind of behind too. So I may just keep it. I don't even want to pull it out to make it lighter. Just gonna keep it. Not all of them have exactly four. Some of them are less or some is behind, so you cannot see. Here are some who is just behind. So I'm going to do a full green on them. And then with my blue and my viridian green, grass green mixture, I'm just going to do a little, go like a little triangle in there. Go here. Go here. Maybe behind here because it's touching. Clean. Suck it up. Blend it out. If you have a few that's not the same green or you are losing green or it's just very dark, go into your light green, make a little wash. So I go into my light green, I make it nice and watery, and I just want to paint a little over it. You don't want your color to be too dark, and then you don't have to wait to jump to paint one, skip one, because even if they flow, you're still going to see your first layer, so it doesn't really matter. Sometimes the wash can just bring color back. Now this one, I want to go a little dark, and because it's wet, it's going to flow, maybe, hopefully, in all of them. And so you can definitely bring back, like this one too. So you can definitely bring back color, but you have to paint the whole thing. Oh, here's the one I missed. Okay. I was like, wait, where was that one that I thought? This one. So I just want to add a little darkness and then let it dry. Because the spaces are small, make sure that you touch your towel when you come back, so you don't just drop a big drop of water on this tiny little leaf. You definitely want to see more, go for the nice bright greens, the happy greens. And then if you feel some of yours is just, I'm just mixing a little bit more of that green. If you feel some of yours is not striking like enough, add little dark areas. A little go a long way. So you just do little swishy, swishy. Blend, suck it up. And then instead of blending it out, I'm just going to use my wet damp brush to just tap on that edge. Tap, 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 tap. And you will see it kind of dilutes it a little bit, but it stays dark. So you're not pulling it out. You just make it softer where it's touching your leaf. And then what I also want to do is I want to have where I have these open spaces in between, pretend like there's more. So I'm going to make it wet with water. And then I'm going to drop in dark greens. So the green with the Viridian blue, green and the dark Prussian blue. And you want to drop it in. Make sure you go from pencil line to pencil line so there's no open spaces. And you want to fill in between. You can also switch to a different size brush if you want to. I don't always like switching because the small brush, even though it always seems like a great idea, doesn't hold a lot of water or a lot of paint. So you have to dip back quite a few times. And then what I want to do is just fill in with this darker green. So it looks like the leaves behind are in the shadow. We cannot really see details on them. We know they're green and we know they are there. We're just going to paint them like this. You can also, as you paint, drop in water drops. So it kind of moves around so it doesn't just feels like a solid color. Make sure you go and paint pencil line to pencil line. Make sure your edges are nice and clean. You can take this small brush And see how here I kind of just end it kind of like this. So what I want to do is I am going to take the brush and just extend that color a little bit around, maybe a little bit in here. So I extend that shadow. And you want to repeat it everywhere. So the darkness kind of go a little softer. So go everywhere. And just add it, especially where they are touching. It's kind of like an outline. These ones you can add stems along. And they kind of just define a tiny bit better. And if you do this and you feel your lines are getting a little too thick, you can also, I'm going to show you how you can make it a little skinnier. You can also divide a few. So just kind of do a line from the middle and then kind of let it fade. This is where the flat brush can come in really handy. So now what if you have lines that's a little too thick? You clean your brush, so you wet it, you touch your towel so it's just damp, and you can kind of push it back. And you can kind of go on that edge and you can kind of make it a little softer. So there's always ways for you that you can kind of, you can never always take all the color away, but you can make it softer. So on top of that pencil line, and I just like the flat brush because there's just more bristles, so it just goes a little faster. But do a few of those lines and then hold it up, squint your eyes a little bit and look at it. You have to squint your eyes to kind of blur your vision so you can see highlights and shadows. And then you will easier see if there's a line that bugs you. Okay, so, and you can take the flat brush and just drag it over and you can kind of make any line just a bit softer. Okay, so it's a little dark in here. I meant for it to kind of go a little softer. So what the same idea, this is now for this background. I can use my flat brush and I can push the paint a little bit away. So I like the shade it is. It's just a little too, it just ends a bit too dark. So I like the darkness, but I just want to bring it back. And so now I can go into my lighter green again, and I can just maybe bring back a little green, like give a little C shape, like so it looks like a leaf ending. Because the water kind of just pushed all the paint to the side and it made that hard edge. Can you see? Wait, it's not your eyes. Oh, there. See how it makes that hard edge. So if you have too much water, it kind of push it to the side. Now what you can do is pretend painting leaf shapes in there. So I'm just going to do a leaf shape like this, like another C. And again, you can use your flat brush and you can just drag it over that very hard line and you can kind of soften it a little bit. Cannot fully take it away, but you can definitely soften it a little bit. So that big space, just feel maybe a bit more like there's leaves happening versus just one big blob. See how I can kind of define that one? This one I think is fine. Maybe you want to go a little dark here. So you can also paint with your flat brush, but it's small, not even the size of my pinky. So small. And the bristles need to be together for you to be able to use this as a little fixer paintbrush. Now you can also stick with this brush for your stems, or you can switch back to your small brush. I just saw this line was a little hard. This line was a little hard. This one. And maybe this one. I'm going to switch to my medium brush, the one that I was painting with before. I'm going to flip my painting a little bit to this side. I'm going to use the darker color, so not the bright green. Maybe even add a tiny bit of brown to it. And now what you want to do is you want to add stems. Just do it light. Go everywhere. Make a lot. When you have a few, more is better. So make sure you go everywhere. Go over everything. So this is step one. Just paint them kind of like this. You can see my pencil lines, which I wish it wasn't there. So it's easy for you to see what I'm doing. But then I'm going to make darker here. So first your lines are softer. And then you want to come back and make a few darker lines going in. And then skip the opening and then go a little bit here until this bottom line by the ball. Now, don't go into the ball, so go a little bit the writing. And maybe now you want to switch to a smaller brush. Get the dark color, the blue and the green, the Prussian blue and the Viridian green. So get some of those. And then just kind of give skinny little lines here and there. So first you want to do one shade kind of lighter, and you can go over everything up until the bottom. And then you want to come back with a few darker lines, not everywhere, darker on top of your light green to divide them and to show these ones are sticking out. And those ones are going through glass, double glass, so it's a little bit more diluted. And then these are inside the water, so also a little bit more diluted. If you went a little bit into your leaf, like here, and if you went into your jar, take the flat brush and just soften them a little. And then clean, take your flat brush and just go on top of your jar and kind of blend them out. Make sure your stems are long enough so it doesn't look like it will fall out. I don't know how to explain that. Just make more, but soft because the water is kind of making it softer. I like it so far. I hope you do too. I'm gonna go into my black, black. Maybe a little bit of blue to it. And I'm just gonna do a tiny little line like right here for the shadow. I go a little up and I blend it out with water. And if it was too light, go close to your jar and then pull it out. It will not go into your jar because you didn't touch any water in there. So it will stay outside of it. Go straight here at the back. So don't go by an angle. Clean your brush, suck it up. I like to make sure that this edge is very uneven. So I would just like color it in kind of. Push it back. If you want to splatter, which is always my favorite, and I feel it kind of works with this, I like to unfold and fold my towel uneven. I want to go into all the greens. And then all you do is you just tap, you make it watery, so lots of water. And then you just tap. You want to go close to your paper so you don't give splatter everywhere. And you want to dip into your water cup and splatter so you get different shades of green. I just want to show you. I realized maybe you will not see what I'm doing. If it goes in here, take your finger with your towel and just dab it. Don't wipe it because then you're going to make stripies. Don't want that. And then go maybe a little bluer. And do more. And then clean your brush. And then take your towel with your finger. You always want to make sure you kind of rotate the spot so you don't transfer spots everywhere. And then you have your mason jar with clover. There you have it.